We start electing, you got your party leaders, just utter buffoons, contemptible humans with no personality. Like, it doesn't matter how strong your message is, no one's getting elected. You could give Dermot O'Leary, presenter over here in the UK, very popular man, very nice, lovely, affable man, probably quite a weak message, but he would get in. You've got to start packaging these things up to make them more palatable, and Lab have been the greatest proponent of that in the world for me.
What an analogy. Dermot O'Leary on the pod. Dermot O'Leary for PM. Hello and welcome to another episode of Kickpoint, the Golf Gear Show. Thank you for joining us for another week of golf equipment chat. Joe, we're back in the studio. You're having some smart water to feed that brain of yours. It's nearly Christmas. How are you?
I'm very well. How's your friend that you brought with you on your right eye there, Dan?
Good, thanks for bringing him up, especially since we switched sides and you're looking at my right side. I brought a new friend with me in the shape of an ingrown hair in my eyebrow. So thanks for bringing that up, Joe. We're back in the studio, as you can tell. Thanks for all your comments on the episode from Pinehurst last week. Didn't we look good?
Yeah.
We've got a great videography team here and we love you guys. Thanks for your help. However, another team outdid you last week, and I thought we looked great, and it was a fun pod, wasn't it? Yeah.
Look at the faces on them.
Yep.
Look at the faces.
Shouldn't have said that at the start of the record this week, maybe. But hey,
probably not.
Thanks for watching that.
They had some good mediums to work with, didn't they? That fire pit at Pinehurst we were outside was beautiful. The changing light there, that was really nice. I tell you who we did look good to, Angela.
Hey, Angela. We read your comments.
We do.
We see you. Joe sees you.
Angela and Wendy. My
The fan group is growing. So thanks for your comments on that. You would have noticed no tour issue on Monday, which was yesterday for us. It was our Christmas do. We are going to shelve that until the new year now, simply because we're busy and off and there's no golf going on, is there, Joe? So I was excited to get that under our belts, though. Thanks for your comments on that as well. That will be returning in full when the season starts again, which is good, isn't it?
Really good. Yes,
Great.
Dan. Yeah.
And coming up this week, now I've come together with this little doozy, if I may say, the idea, and then we've obviously worked together.
You taking responsibility before we know it's a success or not. This could be an utter shambles.
Rolling Stone magazine, and I feel bad for whoever had to do this, put together the top 250 albums of the 21st century.
Jedward on there anywhere?
No, they weren't. Just missed out.
Defunct.
So we're doing the the most important 28 clubs of the 21st century today, Joe. How about that?
Start with 25. We couldn't narrow it down in typical nonsense style, so we've ended up at 28, haven't we? A random started with 21, actually. You wanted to get all clever, didn't you? 21 clubs for the 21st century. And then we were like, that doesn't make much sense. So we went to 25, and we've somehow ended up on 28 with a few honourable mentions as well.
Exactly. So we're running through that from 28 all the way up to 1. Do join in the conversation down in the comments. I think this is a fairly definitive list. There will be opinions out there on ones we've missed out, or have we ranked some unfairly? Let us know. We're going to crack onto that. That's going to cover most of the episode, and then we've got 3 really good Ask the Pods to crack on with as well.
Hey, Dan, watch this. Slugs have 4 noses.
Wow. For those listening, Joe just drank some smart water, not sponsored, and came up with a fun fact for everyone. We're having fun today. It's end of term vibes here, isn't it? A Kickpoint the Golf Gear Show HQ. But before all of this, Joe, I played golf yesterday.
You did?
You missed out because it was our Christmas do, and it was very, very far away from where you live.
5 hours for me to get there, plus the fact that I'm dying and drowning in reviews from launch season, prepping for 2 podcasts, starting a review channel. Other than, 3 podcasts. I mean, some of us just do that in the morning while everyone else is setting up the cameras, but some of us do a bit of work prior to the podcast, not saying anything.
Maybe
saying anything
related
about
to me.
That.
Well, 2 things. One, played at the London Club, which I've filmed at a few times, and I want to shout out the conditioning of that place for December. It was absolutely mint, and I think winter golf's very tough here in the UK, and that was a nice antidote of a round of golf in mid-December.
That's
it was
not
effing
even
cold.
Just lip service. You rang me about that. You said it was just phenomenal conditions.
It's in great condition in the summer whenever I go there and film, and I've never played it before, and for that to be in December was brilliant. Secondly, I got a lot to work on, Joe, since our trip at Pinehurst. You showed me a picture of me.
We'll pop that up now.
Oh,
Dan's got some posture work to do. So the picture you'll see here, I'll do it maybe better for this, but he was just getting so far from the ball. And there was one particular toe shank you hit with a mini driver.
Over on Instagram, if you want to go and see that shot, mini driver toe shank.
Because you couldn't reach the ball with the middle of the face because you're so far from it. So, we popped him side by side with the Ludwig just as a visual. Ludwig's quite close to it, but I wanted to highlight. I wanted to make it look shocking for you,
and you flipped Ludwig, so he was left-handed for me. Thank you for that. But what it hammered home to me, and it's something we've said on the podcast loads. One thing I've been working on really hard for the last at least 12 months is grip.
Yeah,
and you can see how I lean to stronger when I don't use that grip trainer enough. I think for people listening, what are your tendencies? I tend to grip gets stronger, I sneak further away from the ball, and I become more open if I don't check myself. What this has taught me is checking things like stance, posture, and grip. You're not going to play good golf unless those things are covered off. So this is what I'm going to be drilling over the winter, basically.
It's boring. It's the stuff that no one wants to do. And I know we've probably said this before, but if you go down the range at any professional event, these are the best golfers. These are the top 0. whatever %. And they've all got their alignment sticks down. They've all got things generally for ball position. Loads of them have sort of contraptions on their person that measure how far they are away from the ball, with particular Xander's one. Xander's got a kind of a cross piece that he marks on. I think it's like wedge, 6-iron and driver, just to make sure when he gets to an event, he gets himself for the first half an hour back in the right place. And then you can go from there, because you think, I don't know that I totally don't believe in swing floors, but 90%, that's just such a random number I've picked out there. But so many swing floors that you see are just born out of setup. When people come over the top, their shoulders are often open or misaligned, or their feet are closed, so they have to throw it over the top to get back. Or their grip's weak, so their face is open, so they have to do something. So many of these things can be traced back to setup. And if you can just work really hard, and I say it's not even hard work, if you can get yourself in a position, mark these positions somehow, whether it's your stance width, whether it's your ball position, whether it's how far you are from the ball, whether it's using a grip trainer to calibrate that kind of stuff. God, you can save yourself so many rabbit holes. And I wonder what I'm doing. Maybe I should shallow it. Maybe I should release more. Maybe I should do that. Maybe you should just get it set up, and then you've got no right to start worrying about your golf swing until your setup's good, in my opinion.
Spot on. I think
Hold on, Dan. Hold on.
Oh gosh, she's drinking the smart water again. Just a bit for the whole pod this week. I could do without it.
Flamingos aren't born pink. I
knew that. It's because they eat shrimp.
Okay, good.
That's what makes them pink.
Carry on.
Is their diet. Sorry about it.
We'll get a sponsorship out of this. It's a good bit I've just made up.
Especially for handy, low single figure or decent golfers. Your swing's going to be there or thereabouts all the time because you develop that over years and years, and you don't have to rip it up. And
but also,
again.
people think swings are
feet in the right place.
But people think swings are automatic and totally repetitive, and to an extent they are, and that's what you're trying to groove, a repetitive motion. But a lot of great golf shots have been hit with an athletic save of the hands at the bottom, or there's still an athletic reaction. You're still making a fluid motion, and points in that swing will be different from swing to swing. Obviously, you're trying to minimize those differences generally, but that's really difficult to control at that speed. What's really easy to control is statically how you start. And, whether it's, you can look at all the, I'll get back to the PGA for this, my PGA training. I'm no swing guy. I'm not a technique sort of a guy. You can see that from my own golf swing. But pre-swing principles, as they call them, rather than in-swing principles, just look at ball position. If your ball position's too far forward, for example, that's going to affect a couple of things. It's going to affect your attack angle. It's going to affect your path. It's going to affect your club face alignment. It's going to affect low point. And that's moving it by an inch. It's just the best players in the world spend so much time calibrating that setup position. And like I said, if you're thinking about your swing, it doesn't look like this and whatever else, again, just check yourself. You've got no right until you ticked off all of those setup boxes. You've got no place worrying about golf swing.
And I gashed it around Pinehurst, and there were a few, other
Lovely
reasons
phrase.
for that. Tired, didn't practice, blah, blah, blah. However, having gone from there, you said, what the hell are you standing there for? Your grip's too strong. You stood too far away. Went to the range, figured that out, stood what felt ridiculously close to the ball, but when you look at it,
it wasn't.
Isn't. Got my grip a bit weak in the place it needs to be. Went and played yesterday and played really well, and all of a sudden I like golf again. And that was no hour-long session with a coach, no worrying about shallowing or this or that. It was a very simple realignment. So I just wanted to share that experience.
And stay on that, stay consistent, check yourself with this, and just keep hammering that into your game. And I honestly think, I've said to you before, those two things, if you get consistent in that, you get yourself a more orthodox and functional setup, and we can get you 8 to 10 miles an hour more club head speed.
Which is the plan over the winter as well, yeah.
You'll go from 6 to 3 to 2 in no time because the rest of your game's there.
Excited. I'm actually getting quite excited about drilling the boring stuff like stance and stuff. Anyway,
Good.
So that's a shared experience.
Hold on, no, I'm joking.
That's why I always don't want to breathe to let you do that again.
I'll probably get one more in before the end.
I'll hang around for that, everyone. One last shout I need to give. Friend of the show, friend of me, friend of you, Reese Dunn. Has been duly elected I think he's the chair of, or the director of the course at Royal Fulford Heath Golf Club.
Chairman of Greens, isn't it?
Chairman of Greens, but I think he's got a new name now.
Okay.
It's director of the course.
Wow.
The youngest ever at Fulford Heath Golf Club, Royal Fulford Heath Golf Club, at 25 years old. And thank you, Joe. He was like, can we do a feature on me? And I was like, oh,
is this the feature?
Maybe. No, he wants like something in the print because he's 25 years old. He wants something in print.
On, Reese.
Or maybe a feature
Not
online.
the Prime Minister.
So he's now on the board at Fulford Heath. Another friend of the show, Brad Schuff, who only joined the club in the summer.
Shuffers,
has been duly elected director of house, a new position, because our halfway house and the caterers, I don't want to start on them now. It feels like an unfair play. Anyway, my little group at Fulford, have 2 out of 6.
You're well represented there. You could get sandwiches back in. Wasn't there like a sandwich colour?
We don't have paninis.
Yeah, well, that's going to be
That's being changed. The halfway house wasn't open all year.
Shuffers, get in there.
We've got big plans.
Okay, nice.
Anyway, just wanted to say so. Congratulations. 25 years old, looking after our greens.
Good stuff.
Thoughts and
Fascinating for the
feelings.
wider audience there. Great to shove that in. Well done, Reese. Well done, Shuffers.
I don't know if it was a joke, but he wanted to do it. And he went, I've got to put money where my mouth is here. He ran, and then Joe should run across camera there. He ran for government, as it were, not government, and then won. So now we're sat here. You've just walked all the way across the front of the camera.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Focused,
They'll sort that out in production. I won't worry about that.
What's this you just picked up?
Well, Reese, you told me to bring this for Reese. So
Yes.
This is the Shore Golf, the connector. So have you seen Rory using this?
Yeah.
Talking about training aids. So
Yeah.
I'm making a couple of changes myself. Just noticed a horrible little mark on my hand there. I'm making a couple of changes myself, and I just I'm desperate. Right, here's one for you. Don't know why I went to get this, but we just mentioned Reese, and you told me to bring that for him. So
Can you
that's why
describe
he
this to
came
people
up.
listening? What I'm holding.
So
please?
it is kind of a foamy,
It's like a decapitated
angular
alien.
cut green ball with some gold sticks coming out of it. So basically it's to go between your forearms to help the connection in the golf swing, to keep you connected and stop flipping and all sorts of other things. Became very, that's an interesting concept, actually. You see the training aid guys at tour events. Have you seen it?
We see them every now and again. They really make me laugh.
It's a tough scene. Like, I get it. You're out there as a salesman. You need people to high-profile people to be using your products. Liam Bond from TRS is one of them, and I remember Liam going up and down the range, essentially just throwing TRS balls at people and sliders.
Please
and get out. And then if they just try it on for 2 seconds, you just photograph it, get it on the website. It's good marketing. It's really good, but it's a tough game, that. But yeah, I just thought I'd bring it in because you mentioned Reese. I've seen Rory using that on and off to try and get
We had a good training aid question last week, actually, about is there a holy trinity of them? Your answer was yes, but make sure they're the right ones for you.
Well, that's it. So
who's this for?
So this is for people, someone like me, actually, who kind of gets your right arm away from you, loses. Ideally, again, I'm not much of a tech guy, but if kind of the closer you keep your elbows together in the backswing, connection-wise, you've got a better chance of squaring the face. I don't know if that's technically true, but like when your right arm gets too far away from you, you can steepen the shaft. You've got a lot of different angles going on. That's what happens with me. I'm lazy, not flexible enough. I just finish the backswing with a bent left arm and a right arm that just floats out too much. And then I've got a lot of work to refine the ball. So I'm Sam Diath, Sweaty Sam. He
gave you a nice little tip, didn't he?
He's pointing me in the right direction about getting external on my right shoulder. So I'm going to try and do a bit of work on that. But yeah, my point was that if you can find something, the best area of my game has always been my putting. And I've only ever done one thing. I've just put 2 alignment sticks down either side of the hole. So basically my putter's about a hole's width wide, putter head, 6 foot putt. Just have a rail and just keep seeing it straight and just work up and down that rail, hitting straight 6 foot putts. And my theory is if you train yourself to be in a good setup, so I'll have another stick for my feet, train yourself to be in a good setup there, see straight lines. Yeah, you're going to have some natural arc in the stroke. I don't like a lot of arc, but you're going to have some natural light. But if you're just working up and down this line and seeing straight, and then I'll get 3 balls, try and drop 1 in the front, 1 in the middle, 1 off the back of the hole, so I'm fine-tuning pace as well there. If you can do that, if you can control your start line on a straight 6-foot putt and slightly refine your pace control by knowing what's going to be front edge, what's going to be middle, what's going to be... That's a very transferable skill to 20-foot putt. You're laying the foundations. You're building blocks of setup, alignment, and a relatively kind of straight back. I'm using my fingers for inverted commas there.
Yeah.
Straight back, straight through kind of a stroke. You got something on line. You're reinforcing good lines and good habits. Well, that's just something you can take from 6 feet to 10 feet to 30 feet, et cetera, et cetera. And that's just what I've always done. And I've always been hugely consistent playing. I've never had that with my long game. I've always
like a version of that.
Yeah, I've always just done exactly what I told you not to do at the start, flitting around, trying this new swing, trying split-handed grips, trying this, trying that, and wondering why you're not getting better. The more I think about these type of things, the more I realise there isn't a right way. Look at the world's top 100 from years gone by and from now. They're just so different in terms of how they move and what they do. It just seems to me there isn't a right way to do it. In emotion, there's fundamentals you've got to get set in place and then just stick to one thing and do it to death.
Yeah, that's simplify the game.
Simplify the game.
Right then, none of that was planned, that preamble. We like a preamble. So it's time to crack on to the most important 28 clubs.
It's not. I've got another stat for you, Dan.
Have you drank your smart water?
From the Alfred... No. From this is just in my head or on my screen. From SMS on Tour, our friends at SMS on Tour. Just want to get your thoughts on this. The Alfred Dunhill Championship just won by our friend Jaden Shaper, friend of the pod, who we did a What's in the Bag with and didn't get any audio from. Won the Alfred Dunhill Championships. 14.1% of the players there had a mini driver in play, as opposed to the same event last year, 3.8%.
Same event, same course.
Same event, same course. So that's a significant increase, and just goes to show these trends of what's going on with golf clubs. It's really changed over the last couple of years. So the trends that I've noticed, mini drivers more prevalent, lofted fairway woods coming in, killing hybrids, mallet putters just absolutely dominating over blade putters. Those are the 3 trends, and I'm just got me thinking what the next few trends might be.
Good stats on that. I was thinking about mini drivers in the car the other day, and
so cool.
I know, and I just think, as fun as they are for me and everyone listening who's probably a similar-ish golfer, you might be better, you might be worse, but normal golfers, right? I don't think they're that useful. I think you have to be a really high-speed player. Is that fair?
I don't think it's a speed thing necessarily. I think that's part of it. The people I see benefiting from them are kind of 2 ends of the spectrum. Very quick, who need another tee option when like 300 yards is running into trouble or tightening up or whatever, but you don't want to lay back to 260 or 255 or whatever you 3 would. That sort of twilight zone there as a tee club is very useful, and stats show the closer you can get to the hole, very good in terms of your proximity to the hole. So that's one thing. I would argue that mid-level players, you're probably just going to keep hitting driver because...
That's what I did yesterday. There was no danger at the London club. I needed distance because it was cold and it's not that running out that much. So it was just driver. And I was sat looking at my lovely mini driver in the back going, I could do it with 3-wood actually today, really. Yeah,
and also if you've got the capability to shape the ball, if you're a better player and you can maybe have your driver set up for a fade and your mini set up for draw, you've got more options on holes that curve and so on. Again, kind of the mid-handicap player may not have that. But I see sort of down the slower or the bottom end of the ball striking spectrum being very useful as well, because 45 3/4 inches, 46 inches, which I can't say this under embargo actually, another drive that's just coming out at...
G440 is 46. The one that was out last year.
Yeah. Okay, you panicked me then.
But you're thinking of the one that's coming out in a few weeks, aren't you? Yeah.
Can be difficult to manage for people who are struggling to find strikes. So just going down in length to that mini driver, because it's all set up from a swing weight point of view.
And canning the driver entirely.
Canning the driver entirely and having a 13.5 to give you a bit more launch. I can see that as a benefit. So it's almost like high end, I get it. Bottom end, I get it. Only a few people in that sort of mid-range will suit it.
I'm starting to really consider its place in my bag. However, really interesting that at the same course, year on year, a 10% increase in mini driver usage is significant.
Yeah, it just stood out to me.
I think we'll track that next year. Let's track mini driver usage and mallet usage. I know you're
well, let's not. Let's let SMS on Tour track that for us because they're very good at it, and we'll just read the report in the week.
Thank you, SMS on Tour. Do subscribe to their newsletter. It's very good. I know you did, Joe. It's very, very good for that sort of stuff. Right then, any more dispatches?
I just had a smart water.
Fact.
Dragonflies have 6 legs but can't walk.
Are they all animal based today? Can we maybe branch out? That's fine. I don't
the
mind.
Caesar salad was invented in 1924.
There you go.
Right, best clubs.
Is really good. Most important clubs of the 21st century, and why we've used the term most important, Joe.
We went
is
back and forth
ironically
on this, didn't we?
Very important. Yeah, we did go back and forth on this because best is a slightly duller list of just really good golf clubs for the last 25 years.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And a lot of these clubs we're going to talk about are also very, very good. However, that limited our ability to bring in clubs that brought in a new technology for the first time, have been culturally significant, started a new trend. So we wanted to open that up a little bit, hence the wording, most important clubs. That felt fair, didn't it?
And get in the comments, let us know if you agree, disagree. I mean, chances are you'll be wrong because we've nailed
right.
this.
This is right,
correct.
exactly. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
But we'd love to hear your thoughts.
But we did use suggestions from you on a couple of Instagram and YouTube posts. So thank you for those. We put a long list together. I think our long list was about 35, 40. And we came down to this random 28 number. A couple of other caveats. No club families are in this. We're talking individual models here that we might float around a few families in here. So these aren't just clubs that were unbelievable.
Just fact checking that, just going up our list. You are right, yeah.
Good. So these aren't just great clubs, but a lot of them are. Some will have a story, and the byproduct of them is that they've had some sort of shift in the industry over the last 25 years. And it has been a crazy 25 years when you think about it. We were chatting to Jez Elwood, who still works at Golf Monthly and was the equipment editor in the sort of mid-noughties. We're going to get him on for an episode in the new year. And he was talking about, we had square drivers come out. Hybrids weren't a thing. We didn't have carb, don't drink your smart water. We didn't have carbon knocking around in drivers. We were just getting into titanium. We read a fascinating piece in the Golf Monthly archives about titanium today. I've got some little snippets from old Golf Monthly mags I'm going to bring up today as well. So there's your context. We're going to crack in. We're going to work all the way up 28 through 1, so stick around. But Joe, some honourable mentions first from clubs that are almost too new for us to put in, but we think will be in the conversation if we did this, say, in 10 years' time.
Yeah, okay. Do you want me to reel them off?
Please.
Titleist GT3 driver, like that goes in the conversation partly just because it's brilliant and it's been a real sort of unicorn. It's in so many bags this year, but I think it is culturally significant for a brand as big and influential as Titleist. The first time in the modern era since titanium, they've gone away from an all titanium construction in driver, and well, frankly, they've made a very good job of it, Dan. It's gone rather well for them.
It's gone off excellently. So that feels like if we were doing this in 2050, which I'm sure we will be.
It'll be interesting. We'll be here. Yeah, don't worry about that. Imagine how smart I'll be then. The Avoda Origin curved face irons, very new to retail. I've just done a piece on them in our new review channel studio downstairs.
Check the review channel out, people. Will it be live by Friday when this comes out?
Should be live. Should be going live about now. Actually, probably should have done that before we started this pod. Do you mind if we I think I've got some admin to do, actually. I'll do it at lunchtime.
Do it at lunch. But go check the review channel out. I'll link it in the description.
So curved-faced irons. So Bryson, we know what's been going on there. He's brought that in because of his high speeds. Just watch the piece. There's some interesting stuff about speed and its correlation to how much curve there could and should be. But I think it scratched the surface of what could be a very interesting new tech. On that theme, the LA Golf driver is another honourable mention because they've gone a step ahead and they've matched face curvature to different people's speeds and input to kind of make sure the gear effect is tailored to that person. That's a really interesting concept. There's some stuff I didn't like about it, but I think they're really potentially onto something. And some of the new releases this year, they've got elements of that in there. And then the Sausage Golf, which you were rolling yesterday in your lovely round. Just
shout out to Sausage, man. That could be mega.
You just said one of the best feeling putters you've used, but also the concept of modular golf clubs where you can shift about their torque profiles and various things to create 3 or 4 clubs in one. There's something in that, and they've executed that beautifully for a first go, don't you think?
100%. I had to rip that out of my dad's hands. The sample that they kindly gave us, I nicked off you to start to try myself, and then I was like, Dad, give this a roll. And I said to him, I want to use it this weekend. Then he went, oh, really? Like in a really pissed off way.
Gutted.
So he's loving it as well. So yeah, well done to Sausage, and I think that will age really well. So those are your shout outs, Joe.
We're going to work quickly up from 28 to 11, aren't we? Because we want to get more stuck into the top 10.
So yeah, we're going to briefly I've got some, I'm like Richard Osman here for those who used to watch Pointless. I'm just going to sort of give you some info when you read it out.
Who am I?
I guess Alexander Armstrong.
Good.
Is that okay with you? Zander. And yeah, we'll go into more detail on the top 10. I've also got some snippets from the Golf Monthly archives, which I was delving in last night in a Premier Inn.
28. We have got the Sonatec MD Hybrid. So Todd Hamilton famously won the 2000, famously not to you, actually, the 2004 Open at Troon.
I had no idea.
And it's basically the first time I really saw a hybrid being used to such effect. He used it off the tees. It was 17 degrees, bent to 14 degrees. So an absolute rocket of a little hybrid. But he was tickling it down the fairways on the tight holes, and he chipped his way around with it because there's so many runoffs and bump and runnable areas. So that hybrid to me was one of the first. It was one of the most visual. It was one of the most, it was one of the first times it became so prevalent on a broadcast of such a high level event and came out successful and played such a big part in it. I think that was a big moment for the hybrid.
Launched in 2003, this club was made famous by Todd Hamilton in 2004.
Thank you. What's your name again?
Dan.
No, what's your fake name now?
Richard.
At 27, the Adams Idea Pro Hybrid. Now this, we've started off with two hybrids, which I panicked about to start with, and Dan told me to get a grip.
Who cares if we start? It's a made-up list.
Just felt a bit weird, but we're there now, so just be quiet. So this was the first hybrid to me that really convinced better players, tour players, that a hybrid was a workable option. It was low spin. It was really workable. It had more iron-like offset. Until then, the hybrid had been, well, TaylorMade called it the rescue. So it's like rescuing bad players who couldn't do things. And it was the first time that it became a real viable option for tour players.
What happened to the word rescue?
I think TaylorMade have got that as a trademark. I think only they can call hybrids rescues. I'm pretty confident.
That's a good stat.
Someone tell me that's not true, but I'm pretty confident that is.
Launched in 2006, the Adams Idea Pro Hybrid was reviewed well for its game-changing, confidence-boosting and consistent play.
You're just reading off AI. At 26, the Mizuno MP32. Now, this iron started to blur the lines between the pure blade and cavity. So it had what we called this, it was a cut muscle. So just a little slither out the back, which kept it essentially as a blade, but just removing that little bit of muscle, that little bit of mass from the center and pushing it a little bit further to the perimeter was the first sort of blur between blades and cavities, that sort of opening the floodgates for kind of these crossover categories, if you will.
I'm glad we got a Mizuno club in there because...
Oh, we've got more than one.
I know. But, well, of course we do. This was released in 2004. And for me, this is a real lesson in golf club history and like very recent history because I genuinely... When did I even switch on? When did I gain consciousness?
Are you switched on now?
2019.
Okay.
So every club before that, no idea. Either what I was playing at the time, which I didn't even really care about, or nothing. So this is just genuinely interesting for me.
Thankfully for you, Dan, at number 25, we've got a club from 2021, the Callaway Apex UW,
Surprised
the original
it's got
one.
in.
What?
Yeah. But convince me otherwise.
This is maybe a bit of a personal one for me because I love it. But
that's fine.
For higher speed players who wanted the benefit of so a lot of high speed players struggle with hybrids, volatility of the CG on the face, not as straight as you might want to see. And then they would be steered into higher lofted fairway woods, which great, a bit more forgiving, higher MOI. But if you're a certain delivery type, you'll just spin the doofus off it and just far too much spin and makes it uncontrollable. What you get in the Apex UW is a CG location somewhere between a hybrid and a fairway wood that still allows you to pop it up in the air but keeps the spin off it. It's just brilliant for me. So it's in there for me.
No, but I'm all in on it. And we're talking the original one here, which came out in 2021. And this would have been again, thinking about the list in 10 years' time, 15 years' time, will have been on there as well, I think, because of what you've just described. So
and
I know it's fairly new, but yeah.
OG 21 is, sorry, Callaway, for me, still the best. The 23 one was, the new one, the 25 one is really good. I just need to do a little bit more with it.
Why would you change out of the OG one you like? There's no need for you to do that, is there?
We'd still be rocking old models of everything. Otherwise, people update these things, don't they?
Fair point, well made, Barbera.
24, Titleist AP2 irons. Now, important, I think, because, I mean, funnily enough, we were scrabbling through the archives earlier this morning and I saw some Titleist DCI and DCI oversized irons, which they were kind of more playable Titleist irons. So for years, Titleist were serious clubs for serious players. It was like their slogan. It was all about high-end, low-handicap golf clubs. If you were a low handicap and you were a good player, you played Titleist. I think ultimately they realised that pigeonholing the brand and you're losing potential customers there. AP2 was the first time that they really made a sort of a mid-handicap iron stick that was really popular. So people are 12 and above were finding Titleist irons that were very playable with that Titleist, made them feel good about being in Titleist, and it really sort of opened the floodgates for what we see now as the T series, where you catered for with T100 kind of for low handicappers, T250, bit more pop, T350 as your super game improvement option. That AP2 really opened the floodgates for Titleist, in my opinion.
Yeah, great shout. Wouldn't it be like a great turning point for the company, I guess? But imagine if they hadn't done that, and in a time where since COVID we've had so many new golfers arrive into the game. Imagine if you were still because they're not anymore. I don't think. No. Seen as that brand that you mentioned. Imagine all these new golfers coming in. Titleist go,
they've got a good niche.
Portion those off a little bit.
Yeah, they've got a good niche where they're still kind of thought of as a good player brand, but also there's options now if people aren't as good player but want to feel like it. You can get in there as well. So they've pivoted well there. You've got any history on that?
2008 they came out.
Great work. At 23.
Are we doing the bullseye thing all the way through?
I think so. Until we get to 11 for sure. The Mizuno MP001 driver.
I'd never heard of this one.
Do you know what? Neither had I until I was fact-checking some of our other stuff.
We didn't want to miss anything that we didn't want to have any blind spots. So where did this come from?
Well, this seemingly is the first ever driver to use a multi-material crown. Carbon crown, yeah.
Mizuno did that?
So I think it was 2004.
2004.
Yeah, 2004. Mizuno kind of paved the way, and it was what we're hearing today in marketing about we're going to make the crown lighter so we can redistribute weight around the head. Oh, cool. Well, seemingly 21 years ago, that was the same message. That, again, opened the floodgates to pretty much every driver that we see on the market from high-end manufacturers now. Like we just said, like the GT3, the GT line from Titleist, they've now got on that bandwagon 21 years later, admittedly. But yeah, it looks like from my research, and again, willing to be corrected here, but it looks like Mizuno might have been the first people to start break that technology. Important
to
stuff.
Include. Next up.
22, the TaylorMade Original Mini One driver.
Yes, released in May 2019, Joe, and then 2 years later, which is what you're going to come on to, Phil Mickelson won a major with it. Now, we literally just spoke about the mini driver trend beginning now. Is this the one that started it and gave it some validation?
I think so. I mean, when we think so, it was the first mini driver to win a major. Mm-hmm. Now, we all know Phil's got or had several wacky setups. I think I've given you this stat before. He's the only player in the world to have won a major with no driver, with two drivers, with one driver. Yeah. I was trying to think what the other one was, and it's quite orthodox. It's one, isn't it? But yeah, so he had a wild setup for that Kiowa Island one. Do you remember he had I think it was 5.5 degree driver that was 47.9 inches, which sparked a rule change about 3 months later.
Yeah.
So that was his all out long drive. I'm going to smash it as hard as I can. And then he had this mini driver in there as his sort of safety net, as his bread and butter. But yeah, first one that won a major. So really very soon after that, you started to see burner minis come out, burner copper, R7 quad, then you've got your PXGs, your Titleist GT280s.
Well, now we're here with 4 models now, a 5th coming next year, more that we may not know about. That is the one that started this big trend for this century so far.
It wasn't the first mini driver, but it was the first one I think shifted things.
And also we've got to say it's the first mini driver since drivers as stock became 440, 460 cc, because a driver in the early noughties would have been 400
I think
cc, a little less than that.
I think you're getting a little bit further back, maybe 90s. Okay. Yeah, we started getting into the sort of mid 450s, I think, around the early 2000s. But yeah.
So it still is mini. It is a mini for this century then.
Take it.
Next.
21, the TaylorMade P790 iron. Now,
anything with Woods' name had to be in there.
A couple of bits on that. I don't know. I feel like I've got another list, or you've changed it. I made some more extensive notes here, but I can remember them because I'm that type of a pro. But yeah, so any iron designed by the GOAT, or in my opinion, comfortably the best iron player there's ever been. Could do anything with trajectory and shaping and spin control. So to to get a glimpse into what he wanted from the design process, from what he wanted from offset, blade length, heel toe height, and things like that, was just very important for people to see what someone of that level would want in an iron. And subsequently, he's kind of spawned. Maybe this one didn't spawn the groove pattern, but it's a groove pattern that's now been adopted by, well, I think, is it the top 3 players in the world? Who's top 3 at the moment? We've got
Tommy, Scheffler, Rory,
all playing the same groove pattern. So
wow.
more grooves. So thinner grooves, but more of them. So Scheffler and Tommy, obviously in the P7 TWI, and Raw's in his Raw's Protos, but with pretty much the same groove pattern. So very important, and not very often that you get the top 3, A, all playing the groove pattern, but also B, all fitted by friend of the pod, Adrian Rietveld.
Big friend
there's
of
another
the pod.
One for you.
Would Rory's new irons he's put? Remind me what you put in the top of the bag.
P7 CBs at the top end.
Would they have had that groove pattern?
Don't know. I've not looked at them that closely as of yet. I would argue potentially not, because the prevalence or the propensity to get sort of flyers. So basically, when you've got seemingly what I liked about the P7 bows and what the others like is that more grooves, when it's wet, when you're in the rough, there's less chance of getting a flyer. There's a bit more friction. There's a bit more spin in certain conditions. You don't often see that many flyers at kind of 4 and 5 iron. It's more short to mid irons. You tend to get them that are really destructive. So I wouldn't think so. But yeah, really important. Goat irons, groove pattern. Really interesting to see what he wanted.
And that was released in 2019, but we're sat at end of 2025 into 2026 with the top 3 players in the world using either technology that's come from that or that iron.
Or that iron, yeah.
Brilliant.
Incredible.
Yeah, good argument for higher up there, actually. With that,
you are right.
But 21 in the end. 20.
Ping G400 driver.
Love this driver.
One of the very early super high MOI stories. It actually... It claimed to be the first driver that broke the 9K. That was when they put that as the threshold before these heady heights of 10K. 9K was the threshold of MOI, and it was the driver that claimed to be the first to get there. Had a bit of speed to it as well. This is one of those. There was a time. It's funny we talk about this. The personalities of the brands, and even particularly drivers. People get in their head. Drivers from certain manufacturers do a certain thing. It's like, well, Ping, they're solid and safe, but not very quick. Well, this was quick as well. This was really good. And you can fill in the blanks on the other companies there about what you think the personalities of their drivers are. But yeah, really incredibly high MOI. Really started to blend that safety and stability with a bit more speed. And this is a driver that I think, didn't Adam Schenk win with it a couple of weeks ago?
Yes, and we know Patrick Reed's got a lot of reverence for it, still carries one around.
Yeah.
Like, and that's 2017 this came out. 9 years now. So great. I thought it looked great as well. And I hope Ping bring back that sort of coppery finish, dark and copper finish at some point in a new line, because I thought that looked great.
I just had a bit of smart water. The Eiffel Tower was originally intended for Barcelona, believe it or not.
Really?
Yep. At 19, the TaylorMade V Steel Fairway Wood.
Yes. 2003 release, this one, Joe.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Not much to say, just incredibly solid, long-lasting tech that kind of revisited turf interaction on fairway woods for the first time in a long time. And then we see that a lot now. Like, obviously, Cobra Baffler, there was a shout for that, but it was introduced before the 21st century.
Correct.
So I couldn't shoehorn it in. So this is kind of replacing that in a fairway wood that just focused heavily on turf interaction, when manufacturers started to realise that players were using their fairway woods a lot from the fairway rather than the tee. And now we see a lot of attention paid to sole design and camber. New PXG is a quick one to shoehorn in. The new PXG Lightning Tour fairways, very much kind of a U kind of cuppy sole, much lower in the center. Really interesting concept. So yeah, that kind of brought, I think, important because it brought fairway sole design back in vogue. At 18, it feels like we've been going for about 3 hours. We're doing all right, do you reckon?
I think we're doing all right.
45 minutes.
Okay, better speed this up.
Might have to skip Ask the Pod this week. That's outrageous. Sorry, Ask the Podders.
Sorry, Pod Lads. We can squeeze in one of those.
5 minutes.
Bedlam, innit?
We're rolling for probably 5 minutes.
Maybe 40 then.
Wow.
Rattle on, sir.
Cobra F9.
No. Let's give everything its respect. If it's long, it's long. We'll survive.
The Cobra F9 driver. Now, this is in there because you made this point. might have been the launch of the YouTube review world, because
I think so.
Rick Shields reviewed this and did an effusive review, loved it, still talks about it to this day. And I do wonder whether this was the point where people started going, YouTube's a really good place to figure out what golf clubs do. I don't have to listen to the marketing or the tour pro. There's independent people out there that are doing it. And that was a cultural shift there. That's why that's made it.
Yeah, 100%. I think the F9 it's definitely the one I remember as like the first YouTube review I watched. And I went, oh gosh, I want to try that club out. How interesting is that? Oh, what are all these YouTube golfers? Oh, Rick Shields. Oh, Peter Finch.
Look,
they're
I'm
reviewing
subscribed.
clubs. Oh, subscribed. Oh, they're playing golf courses. They're quite fun to watch playing golf. And this is 2019. This isn't 2002 in dial-up.
Yeah.
This isn't that long ago. And like YouTube golf has evolved into such a thing. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, because there's other YouTube golfers out there who weren't doing club reviews, but this is the one that stuck in my mind as like, this is a thing now. And now we're sat here doing that same thing. And it was a great club as well.
Correct.
I think a big one for Cobra that sort of put them on the map a little bit as a
Cobra,
brand.
I mean, I know we're waffling it, but Cobra have like a very tumultuous up and down
big time.
sort of. They're so in, then they're so out, then they're so back in. Like it's a very wavy grass they've got going on. But yeah, really interesting. 17's just for me. Sorry, Dan, I've been very selfish here. The TaylorMade R510 TP.
This will have some love elsewhere, I think.
I think it'll have some love. I don't know how important it was, but it was important for me personally because it was the first sort of low spin driver I ever got hold of. I was getting quicker. I was probably 18, 19, 20, something like that. First free driver I ever got. So this is like when I'm getting on England squads and they give you gear. You're like, I've not paid for this.
Yes, please.
Yes, please, get in there. And yeah, just incredible. So I think I must have been, fitting wasn't that big a thing back then, or certainly launch monitors and spin rates. We didn't know much about, like launch it higher and hit it low and spin it lower. You'd sort of see the ball flight and you go, you go, cool, that's cool. That rises up real high. That must be great. And you realize you're being robbed of 50 yards when all of a sudden you get a low spin driver in your hand. So that was massive for me. I just put on 40, 50 yards overnight. And I'm not even exaggerating. Mad. It was laughable.
That feels like a cult classic to me, which is why I'm really glad you've included it.
Good. 16, Cobra Limit 3D iron. Preempting things a little bit here. This could have gone in the honourable mentions, but possibly. I think things are starting to shift on that already.
Yeah, agreed.
First consumer available, fully 3D printed iron, and I've just written, it was bloody brilliant.
Because it had that profile of a blade-ish or a cavity back.
Oh, a big, slightly oversized blade, it looked like.
But with the forgiveness properties of something too. If
Ping
you think about
G730.
If you think about the way club families work of like a blade, a CB, a player's distance, and a full-on game improvement, what Cobra is saying with all these 3D printed stuff is it like moves on two families that way or to the more forgiving side, but with the profile of something else. So we might see them in the new year in a more mainstream release, I will say.
Well checked.
And that I'm really happy to see that. This is the Limit 3D one that came out. It's going to be a full run probably at some point. Who knows? It's complete conjecture.
15, while Dan's digging himself a hole there, the Nike VR Pro blades.
Yes, we had to get a Nike club in there.
Well, I said Nike again,
didn't I?
I
I didn't correct you on this occasion.
One of the first genuine high-end pieces from Nike. There wasn't a struggle to accept, but it was a big shock when Nike entered the club market and there was no heritage, there was no
What year did they
history.
come in? Oh, let me Google it when you go.
You're going to ask that. I would go somewhere around 2013, 14. I would take as my hunch something
so they were
around
only
that.
Well, these came out in 2010, so
They were in it. What?
Yes.
Okay, maybe it was then.
2002.
What? That feels wrong.
The internet says it.
Okay, well, fine.
Nike introduced its first retail golf clubs, including forged irons and drivers, at the PGA show in January 2002.
Right, well, there you go. I'm talking complete nonsense. I am very tired from launch season. However, there wasn't a lack of acceptance, but there's a lot of, as we know in golf, people are reluctant to change, and people put a lot of romanticism and credit into history and heritage, and this has always been done like this, so this must be the way, and you can't just suddenly learn how to make a golf club. Well, you're born with it. And all that kind of stuff. Like
Mizuno were born with this. It's as simple as that.
Correct.
He sounds fun to hang out with. I like this character.
Yeah, I'll bring him to lunch today. And there was there was a younger crowd that were interested in what Nike were doing, obviously, but it sort of didn't get going hugely quickly. Obviously, the Tiger thing really helped. Of course, it was earlier than when I'm saying.
Tiger signed from a power deal in the late 90s, and then they were like, well, we've got this win behind ourselves. But can I just rebuttal that with what I think is a fair point, that if Adidas suddenly started making golf clubs right now, which is the, Nike Adidas, we would be like, stay in your lane, Adidas. Like,
would we? Or would we be really excited?
I would be. I'd be excited, but I'd also be like,
what are you doing?
Your clothes and shoes, like, are you doing that? So I can see why there was a bit of pushback from this and why it maybe took 8 years for a legendary club to release like it did.
That's really funny. I'd never thought about it as another apparel brand as such.
Because we just know Nike made clubs. That's a fact that exists now. But before that, you're like, what? You make running shoes? You were out in Oregon making running shoes 30 years ago. That's
a very good point.
Thanks.
Yes, and brought in that groove pattern that I'm talking about on the P790 irons. So do you remember we had the Tommy Fleetwood play these VR Pro Blades for ages, and Paul Casey was stockpiling sets and wouldn't give him one. That's one of the big reasons I think that Fleetwood jumped from these into his P790W, so he could maintain a very similar groove pattern. So yeah, this was one of the trailblazers of that groove pattern.
We're going to do a deep dive on Nike next year. I keep teasing you, and I promise we're going to sit and do that.
Should probably get a bit more factually up to date with my years.
You should know what year they launched.
Decades out, wouldn't I?
Next.
14, the Strixon Z945. To my reckoning, and again, correct me if I'm wrong here, first V-sole from Strixon in an iron. I talk about it all the time, that Tor VT sole. Other manufacturers talk about it all the time on the slide to me about how it's kind of the envy of a lot of people in the turf interaction world, where my friend, this character lives.
He's the chair. No, he's the treasurer.
He's the treasurer of turf. So yeah, really important because again, I mean, they're people were doing a lot of custom grinds to their clubs back in the day. So all the stuff you see now, or a lot of the stuff, is a legacy of what people who were very in tune with their equipment back in the day were doing. Movable weights on drivers. They use lead tape to achieve that same thing. VT soles, heel relief. They would just take it to a grinding wheel and do that. Lie angles were quite often just done by smashing the club onto a road.
Road?
Something like hard, like a floor. Yeah, they're like so there were very few loft and lie machines around that were accurate, and people would just go, I don't like the way that sits, and they would smash the toe into the ground to make it more upright, or vice versa. So so a lot of stuff you see that way, but first sole from Strixon, the V-sole, birthed a very important piece of tech, in my opinion.
Yeah, I wanted to include that one. Number 13.
Odyssey number 7, basically, the fang shape, not much to say here other than I'm going to use the word birthed again, but birthed a shape and forgiveness that many have copied. So we know the answer was hugely copied. You thinking of a putter giving birth? That's what you're thinking of,
No,
isn't it?
I was thinking we could be in a maternity ward today. There's so much birthing going on.
There is, isn't there? Yes. So the answer's probably the most copied putter of all time. Shout out Scotty Cameron. And also the Odyssey number 7, I think, has a massive... Again, you look in most people's ranges, there's something very, very similar to an Odyssey number 7.
Always. I couldn't quite... A lot of debate on the internet of where this came out. I'm stumping for 2006 with the White Hot XG line was the debut of this. But, you see teasers of it.
So many different models and lines.
And there's prototyping. So what year did it officially arrive? Anyway, correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments.
Number 12.
Number 13, 12.
The TaylorMade M2 2016 driver.
This will have a lot of people guffawing at, I suggest. People love this thing.
Just a fantastic driver, but that's not why it's on the list. For me, it's on the list because this might have been the driver that dragged Rory McIlroy to TaylorMade in a multi-quadrillion dollar deal.
Do you think,
because he just loved this driver. When he went on that when Nike stopped making clubs and he had his it's about 6 to 8 months, I think it was, of he had free roaming, trying whatever. He had a set of raw Callaway blades. He had a Scotty Cameron putter.
God.
He was using TaylorMade woods. And I saw an interview with him where he just said, favourite driver of all time. He says he's still got that M6 in his garage, looks over it sometimes
M2.
and thinks, M2. I'm thinking, I saw 2016 right now. Yeah. Saw the M2 driver and just thinking, I wish I was allowed to use that still. But I think he's well aware, probably by now, the amount of abuse he's given it, that probably would have crept over the legal limit for COR as well. So there you go. Number 11, before we get into our in-depth top 10 that will take probably
another half an hour. Yeah, settle in, folks.
Christ. The Ping G2 driver, blended forgiveness with a 460cc head, which was one of the first times they went that big, and it was the genesis of this just absolute dynasty of a series of the G series. It was the first in the line of what has become, I would love to know the stats from retail, but both at retail and on tour.
And
one
tour
of the most
wins,
used.
how many tour wins has a G drive, some G family driver had?
Just colossal.
Crazy for me to think that Ping weren't, this is what Neil, our editor, said in some suggestions he gave us and what you said, that Ping weren't a metal wood or wood a driver brand. To me, having only become conscious in 2019, they're always there. They're one of the big four, right? The fact they weren't, it took till 2004, which is quite late in this company's history to appear as that. It is mad to me. I've pulled from the Golf Monthly archives, from the, I think it was the summer 2004, so July 2004 edition, Joe. An advert for the Ping G2. The Golf Monthly archives are accessible to everybody. I think you got to pay a little monthly fee, but the adverts in there from early noughties stuff, it's so good. So anyway, this one I'll flash it up for those watching, for those listening. To determine if our new fairway woods will improve your game, take the following quiz. 1. Do you play golf?
Yes.
End. So they're good. That's what they're suggesting, Joe, is they're good for your game.
Very good.
So yes, a little dive back in there, and the G2 was and the fairways as well were really heavily loved by Golf Monthly reviewers back in the day, Joe. Should we crack into our top 10?
Right. Number 10, the TaylorMade Spider Putter. The original one. So,
2008. I've got it down as the Rossa Monza Spider. Does that sound about right?
Sounds about right. Again, similar to Odyssey, there's been so many different iterations of Spider. It's really difficult to keep track. But yeah, it was almost like the first super game improvement putter, kind of like it was like the 10K driver of its time, where they were like, okay, we get now that blades maybe aren't offering much assistance here on off-center putts. We worked on, so I'm talking proper blades like the Wilson 8802. Okay, now we put a bit of perimeter weighting in with answer-style putters. Cool. Right, now we've got mallets, which have a bit more depth further back. That's good. Well, how do we just go bananas here? And they've just gone, right, make a massive square and put two really heavy weights back and wide, and just push those weights back and wide, provide incredible kind of ball speed retention more than anything else, and distance control, because you see that a lot on 40, 50-foot putts. People think sometimes, in my opinion here, that their pace control might be off. But it'd be interesting to see where you're striking that ball. If you start missing centre by loads, the speed retention, depending on your putter, can be very different. And I noticed that when I first started using that style of putter, experimenting on the putting green at Celtic Manor with that style of putter. Didn't really matter where you hit it, you get the same sort of energy transfer. So yeah, it made a real difference. It's kind of added tons of surface area to experiment with alignment aids as well. So TaylorMade put these big long lines, and you'd have T lines, and you'd have half moons, and you'd have, so you didn't have that surface area really before to experiment with. So I think that birthed, welcome to the world. I'm going to stop saying birth. Yeah, I think, again, very important for what's now become a hugely topical factor in putter design and how people see straight and lines. I just think, I've written here, TaylorMade are like the Harry Styles of golf. They're not worried. They just chuck things out there. They might wear a pearl necklace to the Brit Awards and frilly whatever. They're just all about trying.
Sound like my dad.
Trying
Sound like my dad.
things.
That man's wearing a frilly top. Dan, why is he doing that?
I'm saying I love it. I love people that are brave enough to just go, nah, fancy this now. Like, people are going to laugh at how ridiculous this putt. And people did. People would come in the shop at Celtic Man. Oh, you're selling branding irons now.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, these were usually the people wearing those loudmouth trousers, pretending to be John Daly on golf trips. Which I would always, they'd walk in the door, I'd go, trousers over there, pal. They go, hey, Dave, he told me trousers are over there. So that style of person. So I love that TaylorMade have always been brave enough to just chuck rogue ideas out there.
You're sort of seeing it in this list, right? It is a TaylorMade heavy list, and I thought about that, and I went, I don't want to just sort of give TaylorMade a big I can't say that, a big round of applause today. I'd like to sort of talk about other brands.
Work out where you were going, but I think I'm there.
Please take yourself wherever you need to.
Yeah.
TaylorMade have been, I think, I can declare this, in the last 25 years, the most innovative brand. And it shows by the amount of clubs they've brought out over the last 25 years that have dictated what we're still using today. The Spider putter, been copied many times, had many iterations in TaylorMade. The 2021 Spider Tour that launched is being used by the top 3 players in the world again. And I hate to lean on these 3 guys because they are TaylorMade staffers. So they are going to be using TaylorMade product. However, I don't think it's a coincidence that they're in the top 3 and they could be using any TaylorMade putter in their range. They're all using the Spider.
Which leads us very neatly into number 9. Dan.
Sorry, I've got a couple of bits in the archive.
Okay, fine.
May I?
You just interrupted my segue.
Do you want to drink your smart water? You got a fact for us?
Hang on, let me fine, just have a little guzzle.
This is an hour and a half long podcast.
The Mona Lisa has no eyebrows. Get back to things, Dan.
Golf Monthly, I'll pop this up for those watching. June 2008, what's in the bag with Darren Clark? Putter, the new Monza Spider feels great and performs really well. It just takes some time to get used to the looks. I'll work away with it from competition before putting it in the bag.
Great statement there. And you see it all the time now. I hear it about lab putters. Oh, I couldn't use that. It looks like a spaceship. Oh, I can't feel where the head is. People pick up golf clubs, have 3 wafts and decide they can't use it. That is one of the most foolish things you can ever do. I refer you back to my friend Paul Hendrickson, double British PGA champion. He uses some of the ugliest stuff in the world, has no hesitation in trying something out for its functionality, because I promise you, if something works after less than a dozen shots and you can see some actual progress and you get over the visual of these things, let's stop judging books by the cover. You'll forget what these things look like.
Yes.
If they do the job they're supposed to do. And these
We're all
things
trying to get the ball in the hole
functional.
quicker, right?
Yeah.
Last one, I'll bring this page up as well from the following issue in 2008, Tech Talk with Golf Monthly. This alignment aid is hideous. Really doesn't work. There's a lot going on. So for those listening, it's the classic white line running through adjacent to the leading edge with these sort of half moons on it as well. I don't know what they're trying to, almost like a mixture of a 2-ball, half of a 2-ball.
Yeah,
look
it
there,
is
which,
like half a 2-ball. Spoiler alert, yeah.
So yes, enjoyable trip to the archives again. Number 9.
The TaylorMade again.
Yeah, here they are.
And there is part of this is that a lot of people will be shouting, well, they release so many clubs, and in the Cristiano Ronaldo vein, the more shots you shoot, the more goals you're probably going to score. So I get that. Pretty obvious here. This is the first driver ever with adjustable weights on the sole. Now everyone does it. So this did not birth anything. This was the first in its line of adjustable weight driver. Like I said, this used to be done with lead tape. You'd had slap leather lead tape all over the toe, the heel, the front, the back, wherever you could to try and influence ball strike. It was super fiddly. I did a video on it the other day, and trying to get these weights out is about a 10-minute job. And then you've got to hold them because you can't put one of the weights you've taken out until you vacate another port. So you've got to find a place so you don't lose that one. It's a fiddly old job, but no one cared. Players loved it because you felt special. You felt your driver was being tuned in specifically for your ball flight and what you were looking to achieve. Fitters loved it because you could just show off and, I know what this, we'll move weights over here. And you could genuinely influence ball flight in a way you hadn't really been able to before. And I think that was, from memory, pre-loft sleeve as well. So you were still with your set bonded hosel. So you couldn't just go opening face angles, adding loft, closing faces down. So you were influencing ball flight purely through CG, and fitters absolutely loved it, and just it was a tough scene for the self-adhesive lead tape industry.
Yeah.
But hey, things move on. Really important driver.
Does the self-adhesive lead tape industry mingle with the turf interaction industry, or are they kind of their foes?
Sworn enemies. Yeah.
Sorry, everyone. This is my last dalliance into the archive.
I feel like we've done what we always do. We said we go really quickly through the first whatever, and we delete on that, and we're not actually going much slower on these. But there you go.
It is what it is. August 2004, the star buy in the driver test in 2004 was the TaylorMade R7 Quad. For those watching, you'll see the image of the page here. They even included, Joe, the torque wrench in the picture, because that was also so new. What the hell's a torque wrench?
Yeah.
That's for your adjustable weight. And to your point of it feeling really cool for the player, the Golf Monthly verdict in 2004, we felt like garage mechanics as we tried to tweak this driver every which way. I thought that was really interesting because this was so new back then.
Yeah, and I remember it. I remember like when we got them in, I think it was someone turned up the county training with one, and we're like, what? Oh, so it's going to draw? And then you'd flick the weights around, and it sort of did it, but then you do it more yourself because you wanted to, flicking your hands over. Yeah. Oh, look at it, it's It wasn't that prevalent, but it was really interesting and very important.
Last one on this. The price in 2004 retail, Joe.
You brought this up. This surprised me. But
Can you remember what it was for a start?
499, you said, didn't you?
449.
Okay.
Which is not far off now. And in 2004, 449 Great British pounds is roughly £800 to £900 in today's money. So I'm not on the side of the companies who are touching
Sounds
prices.
like he is.
Well, I don't know. Tariffs are tough. They can't do much about tariffs, can they? They've got to make their money somehow. What I'm saying is that's £800 or £900 in 2004. Drivers nowadays are what? 550,
Late
6.
times, yeah.
This was a special one because next to it on this sheet I've got here, Shimano bought out a driver in 2004 off of bike gears. That was 499. Well, hung around along there, Shimano, and a Precept Moonsole 320 LS was 249, which is still quite expensive for the time. So just a caveat on driver prices there, looking back in the archives.
Number 8, the Tacoma 101 iron.
Controversial. This one.
Is controversial
inclusion. We wanted to stir the pot.
Remember, this isn't best products of all time. This is most important. And the reason I think this is really important, it's created a real, specifically this iron, I think, created a real breakthrough in that direct-to-consumer space. And to this day, that iron in particular and Tacoma are genuinely altering the way people buy golf clubs, and they're actually affecting and disrupting major OEMs. So they've had it their own way for years, and this is what's done. You come to us, we're stocked in shops, you do your fittings. This is how it is, guys. And Tacoma just came along with this. I first saw Tacoma with it's basically an Instagram company, really, is where I sort of came across, and with really just sleek branding, like very minimalist stuff. You had the kind of the Scandinavian minimalism of design because of where they're from, but then I also still wonder whether Tacoma was a name that I probably should have researched this a little bit more, but I just wonder whether Tacoma, because a lot of people say it sounds kind of Japanese as a word. Does.
I think that's definitely a
nod to, well, we've got some craftsmanship in here as well. That somehow just blended really well. And then you looked at the irons, beautifully shot, really minimal, and you thought, crikey, these are high-end products. And then you look at the price tag. Go on.
It's a Finnish word. That does sound Japanese. Can we say that? Sounds a bit Japanese.
I think you can say that.
But it's Finnish, relating to Tacoma, meaning forge or...
It's not finished. They've only just started.
Meaning forge or smithy. So it's the forging. It's a word of forge or smith.
Nice connotations, Finnish. But also I wonder whether that was... I think so. I wonder in the design meeting where they went, this sounds a bit... people like a Japanese iron.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they saw all of that. And then you'd see a price tag of $499
for a set.
And there was custom options. Yeah, you need to know what your custom options are, what sort of shaft flex you'd want, set makeup, maybe a lie change, etc., etc. But I don't know.
I think that might stir a few people up who love, for example, the TaylorMade M2 driver and go, that was more important. Remember the term more important. And I think, again, if I want to be on the right side of history here, and in 25 years' time, when D2C irons have exploded, or Tacoma's is mega brand, like a huge brand, but are still offering people great value, high quality golf clubs, it's a really important release, and we must note it.
I think so. And a lot of the pushback I've had because I'm quite effusive about some of these D2C brands, particularly Tacoma, I think have done an incredible job at capitalizing on that sort of post-COVID boom when a lot of people coming in and like wanting some good-looking stuff.
2021 they launched right in the heat of the moment,
but not wanting to spend £1,500 on products.
Yeah,
capitalized superbly. But a lot of the OEMs that I speak to, I'm not saying it's bitterness, but a lot of them are still saying, "Well, what about the durability? Their components and stuff aren't as good as ours." Well, we're good 4 years in now, and I've not heard any rumblings of, well, my Tacomas have fallen to pieces, or they're just out of shape, or whatever. So I don't know. Just feels like, when we look back over history, big breakthrough for D2C. There's always been D2C, but this was the first massive traction I can remember.
Vice were the first D2C. But anyway, let us know what you think about that, because I'd like to hear what other people's opinions are on brands like Tacoma and D2C and how important they sit in the grand scheme of golf club
and
design.
lest we forget the kind of YouTube marketing that they've done as well. So getting in very much in the lab style of things, of getting in kind of a lot of influencers' hands, the Brian Bros, Grant Horvath that they brought into ownership strategies.
That's the modern company, like where your Callaway's, TaylorMade's, Titleists probably didn't pivot as quickly to handing their clubs to influencers and still gave it to the 95th player on the Order of Merit on the DP World Tour. Yeah. Tacoma were like, we can't afford that. Let's give it to these guys who are actually sort of talking to a really engaged audience.
Sadly for you, Dan, I'm a bit thirsty.
Oh no. What we got this time, Joe?
Wombat poop is cube-shaped. Know that? Right, number 7. The Ping G430 Max 10K.
Very modern to be in the top 10 for this century.
It is very modern, so again, I'm willing to be shot down here, and there was probably some recency bias to this, but this is just a staggering piece of engineering. I did not know it was possible to achieve that level of stability and MOI and not have off-the-scale spins. We'd seen like high stability and fairway finding machines, like the Nike Square drivers, incredibly high MOI, load of weight back, but it spin at about 4,000 revs and they didn't go anywhere. So to create something that forgiving and stable but playable with high speeds was just unbelievable. It was very early in this, as I said, Ping before pushed that 9K threshold with G400, I think it was. Very, very early in this 10K fight now. They were the first alongside TaylorMade, really, when they did release QI10 Max. I've not seen a driver of that ilk in that category of super high MOI get anywhere near the level of that G430 Max 10K. And when's this coming out?
Friday, the 19th of December.
Right. Well, I can't tell you.
Well, we can't wait to hear about the new Ping one that's replacing it, can we? I really genuinely can't wait to hear.
So I just think that's huge. Yeah, I think that's brought a lot of pleasure to a lot of players. Just because it's so easy to use.
There's nothing funny about the word pleasure.
It's so easy to use.
There just isn't. Yeah, they are.
Cool.
Tell you who they're not bringing pleasure to. Our friend, colleague, works in e-commerce and the gear team, Connor Keenan.
He's had enough, has he?
I don't know. I just saw him hitting big toe dippers with it yesterday.
Yeah, but he can't be helped. He told me it was a cheat code and he's in a right mess. He
Sorry,
can't be
Connor,
helped.
you can't swing.
There's only so much Ping can do.
Yeah.
Number 6, Titleist Vokey SM6. Now we couldn't have picked any Vokey because some of them were pre-21st century. So obviously some of those early ones would have been, yeah, they were. If you're fact checking me here, but some of those early ones,
2007.
What are you talking about, Dan?
Pre-SM era. 1990s, early noughties, Vokey made waves with models like the 200, 300.
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying pre-SM?
Yeah,
Vokey's been around. Sorry, I thought you meant SM.
Yeah, not just
First
SM
was 07.
Yeah, correct. So that was a big moment. We could have gone down there, but I wanted to pick the SM6 because not only did it have that spin mill technology, it was there's a lot of envy around that spin milled stuff in the wedge industry, but also this was the first real time I'd heard progressive CG locations spoken about in wedges. So moving that so the higher the loft you got, they'd move the CG higher to try and help you flight that ball in low. And it's the first time I'd really thought about better wedge players that you always played with in high-end amateur events or pro events, just fizzing in like head-high wedges that were loaded with spin but barely getting above the tree line, because there's so much more control keeping it closer. You sort of thought as a kid, wedges are supposed to go to the moon and come down and stop on a sixpence with probably descent angle rather than spin. And it's really difficult to control that when it's going so high and coming back down. So to start factoring that into wedges and moving CG progressively higher and lower depending on the loft of the wedges, I think was really significant. Very important for the wedge industry, and it's something that everyone does now. There's CG locations and height in wedges and changing the thickness of the top line to get more mass on the higher lofted wedges. It was really important. Vokey have done obviously a lot of important things in wedges, but for 21st century, I think that was for me wedge-wise probably the biggest breakthrough. Great choice, and we see it now, and that's the classic example of why it's important. Is it set the trend that we're currently existing in and currently shaping clubs around. Number 5. Ooh. What have we done? We're about 3 hours now? 4.5.
1 hour 10.
Okay, that's all right.
But with 5 minutes of nonsense before that these haven't seen, hopefully.
Cool.
Otherwise, we'll get fired.
Shall I stop drinking water? The Lab DF3.
Yes.
Now, prepared for the hate on this. Prepared for the hate, but this, and this isn't, we could have gone Lab, the 2.1, the DF 2.1, but the DF3 feels like this was the one that started to soften the aesthetic enough for people to accept it and give it a whirl as a technology. And when they finally gave it a whirl as a technology and realised that a load of people suited this style of putter that didn't want to rotate away from square to your path, that's when they started to get some real traction. I could have arguably, it's not a club, you could have put the revealer in here as the most important equipment, because that was the one thing that started to show it off to people, was a really powerful visual.
Fair point.
So the 2.1 was basically the DF3, but way bigger. So like unwieldy huge. And there's still a few of them knocking about. I think Ricky Fowler's been playing one of those for a little while. But yeah, this one just softened things up to bring that to the mainstream. And now Lab has been everywhere for the last 2 or 3 years, culminating in that massive private equity sale, but tour success, major championship success, just colossal retail success, and helped a lot of people with their putters. And I think politics could learn a lot from the Lab DF3.
Right.
So we've got a strong message there. Zero torque, yeah?
Yeah.
You put it in a non-palatable package, people don't care about how strong the message is.
Right.
You put that strong message in a palatable, slightly more acceptable, it doesn't have to be a supermodel, but in a slightly more acceptable visual package, you can get your message across much easier. So we start electing, you got your party leaders, just utter buffoons, contemptible humans with no personality. Like, it doesn't matter how strong your message is, no one's getting elected. You could give Dermot O'Leary, presenter over here in the UK, very popular man, very nice, lovely, affable man, probably quite a weak message, but he would get in. You've got to start packaging these things up to make them more palatable. And Lab have been the greatest proponent of that in the world for me.
What an analogy. Dermot O'Leary on the pod. Dermot O'Leary for PM.
He'd have like 3 policies and people, Ant and Deck.
Yeah, Ant and Deck. Can you do that? Like a coalition government?
Possibly.
Something like that, yeah.
Possibly. But yeah, that's my thought on that.
I think it's a really fair argument, Joe. I think people might agree or disagree.
The
but
politics or the putter?
The putter, mate. Okay. Let's move on to that. Just where you go with that. Name names. But yeah, it has. And it started the trend, and we've had a sip of smart water.
Sharks are older than trees. Sorry, just
you can't. That's not a fact.
It is.
That makes no sense. Which shark and which tree?
Sharks have been swimming in the oceans for over 400 million years, while trees only appeared roughly 350 million years ago. So,
oh right, broad. Okay.
Yep. Number 4, TaylorMade P790, the original P790,
without a shadow of a doubt, could be higher in my opinion.
Birthed an entire category down, and one that's brought
in here. There's too much birth going on.
This category has brought a lot of people a lot of pleasure. So
more pleasure.
So this was right in my era when I was working at Precision Golf as well. They would just fly out. All of a sudden you could give people a nice traditional-ish look with not too unwieldy shaping, not mad blade length, a little bit bigger than some people used to potentially, but traditional shaping with an absolute rocket ship of hollow-bodied, thin-faced,
good numbers up here,
speed,
nice look down there.
Just such a home run and maybe that's why I loved it so much, because it's such a home run from a sales point
commission.
Of view. Because like, what are you?
Bought you your first house.
Precision didn't work on commission. It was all about never. It just worked about fitting people into the best clubs for the best things. So
a trick there
in your face. But yeah, just. For everyone. So if you're coming from blades and you were getting slower and you just wanted to keep that sort of traditional look, but you needed that power boost, brilliant. If you were coming as a not great player, but you just didn't want to play stuff that looked unwieldy in game improvement, well, brilliant. You got forgiveness and power in this sleeker package. Just brilliant. And again, one of these things where people are so reluctant to accept new ideas in golf. Like, everything's wrong until it's right in golf. No one can accept it. Like, injecting foam into a cavity in the back was lunacy back then. Everyone's like, what is foam? What are we doing?
What are we doing here,
This is
man?
nuts. But that then obviously made the acoustic more palatable, dampened the vibrations, did a great job, and it's still going strong, and it is still the absolute leader of that players distance category.
And that was going to be my point, is that not only did it change the game when it arrived and it birthed the phrase players distance.
Birthed it, did it?
We did, but gosh, synonyms for birthed. The Golf Monthly archive only goes to 2011, but I imagine if it went all the way to today and I typed in the word players distance, those words wouldn't have come together until 2017.
I didn't hear anything you said then because I had a sip of water, and sloths can hold their breath longer than dolphins. Number 3, Odyssey 2 balls. So much sense on this 2 ball. So you're getting balls that line up for the visual to help people get their alignment square. And this was all about lines before, or no lines or dots. And it was just so out of the blue. Like I said to you before, there was no internet really back then. So you'd catch a glimpse of this, like, what on earth has he got 2 balls strapped to his putters? They said you didn't know, you were picking it out on the PGA Tour coverage when you saw it. And then all of a sudden one would turn up in the pro shop. You'd be like, what?
Yeah.
And do you mind if I take on the little junior? Do you mind if I take on the putter? I can't miss. Look, you just follow the line, and like it was so exciting. Makes so much sense. I think it was the trailblazer for daft looking putters everywhere, because it was all about craftsmanship and style and finesse and all those lovely things in putters that we still like and appreciate, and some people can't get over.
We like a daft putter now.
But we love a daft putter now. We love putter. I mean, they went a bit far when they went for the 3 ball. You ever seen that?
Googling.
Google it.
Googling.
It is, well, you might need a bigger screen. It was huge. It would take up the entire top. It's bad, isn't it?
Let's support it with 2 big old rails.
Up on your screen there. Yeah, it did need some infrastructure around it. It was pretty bad. But yeah.
That's a step too far.
Incredible alignment, and just, total trailblazer for those daft looking putters.
Give me a 4 ball now.
Number 2, we're into the top 2 here, Dan.
Let's slow down. I know we've been going on for 4.5 hours, but let's take this as seriously as it is. This is a definitive list that people will refer to in generations from now as look at those 2 half-wits. What is number 2?
Number 2 is the TaylorMade Rocket Balls fairway.
Ooh, it leaves the door open for some that haven't been mentioned yet. What will it be? But go on, Rocket Balls. This is my first golf club I remember.
Well, there's been big marketing stories before in golf, but this one took the biscuit. This took things to another level. It was the first time I'd seen the yardage claims of a golf club quantified quite so blatantly. There was plus 70. So basically, they said, you use this, your fairway 17 yards longer. Fact. Like, not whether you're short, long, it was just this.
Whatever you are now.
So there was plus 14 hats, there were plus 14 towels, there were plus 14 posters, 17, sorry, I keep saying 14. The branding was absolutely everywhere. Oh, mate,
get that on Vinted.
We could probably find one. It was absolutely everyone, and everyone in the world uses. So basically, the tech that came up with was the speed pocket.
Yes.
So they'd cut this little channel out behind the face. You'd have the sole. If you just look at an original Rocket Balls fairway, we'd probably have popped one up on the screen, I'm sure. I just had that little slot missing behind the face, which added a little bit of flexion to the face, bit of spring, bit of trampoline effect, if you like. And the ball speeds were just absolutely out of this world. Everyone in the world was using it. And frankly, if you weren't using it at that point,
you were losing out.
You were missing out massively. It's tech that's been pinched by a lot of other companies now to this point, with a lot of other people still using it. And it just, once again, to me, maybe I'm a bit of a TaylorMade brand fanboy, but that sums up why I loved TaylorMade as a brand. We're going to try something. We're just going to cut a slot out behind that, and we're going to release that to market, and we're going to throw it down everyone's throats. And what should we make? Can we make it bright white and put like neon green as the accent? Yeah, bang.
A white crown.
Do it. Beg your pardon.
Oh, sorry.
You know we're on, don't you?
I'm so immersed in that when we were recording. We can bleep what I said.
White crown, so it would be everywhere with a contrasting black face. The whole colourway just did it for me. It just looked so cool. It just felt so solid. It went so far. I think it really opened the door for like high speed fairway woods. And like, I'll talk about like very swiftly after that, I saw Titleist with they called it their active recoil channel, which was a speed slot, which they filled in with some other materials. They didn't leave it exposed like on the Rocket Balls. They filled that in for their own dampening vibration purposes, I think. But again, just a technology brought in by TaylorMade, an innovation and idea brought in by the Harry Styles of golf with frilly shirts and pearl necklaces. and just adopted widely. Really
Paints his
important.
nails.
Really, really important. And I just love that. I would play that now. I might play that now.
Yeah. You had painted nails the other day, but that's not on topic, is it?
No, the cheeky elf at our house painted my nails overnight for the kids.
You're the Harry Styles of the golf.
North Devon.
Of North Devon.
Yes.
They always say that about you. And yes, Rocket Ball's such a favourite. I had a Rocket Ball's Rescue that I didn't know about the speed slot. I just remember having to clean mud out of it a lot, but that's because I was a bit steep. Yeah.
It was a mud gatherer, I'll give you that, the speed slot, yeah.
Please bring out a mini driver in that colourway. In that Rocket Balls theme.
That would
please.
be great.
That's all I really want.
Mini.
That's all I want for Christmas, Joe.
Oh.
Right then. Drum roll, please. We've finally got here.
If you're still with us, fair play to you.
Thank you for hanging on.
Fair play to you. They almost deserve another fact. We'll give them at the end. Number one of the most important golf club of the 21st century, in the opinion of Kickpoint, and therefore factually correct, is the Callaway ERC2 driver.
Can we do noises, Johnny?
And applause.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Dun, 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 dun. So this is the club that this changed the rules. This tipped the scales. And if clubs are being are so innovative and important and different, that you're going to have to change the entire rule book. For me,
that's important.
That's important. We've been getting quicker and quicker in terms of drivers. So people were trying to win this ball speed race. And this thing was just obscene, and it prompted the governing bodies to act. So basically what Callaway did, they had an ERC, they had an original ERC. And the idea was they were thinning the face so much that you'd create flexion and you create what they called the trampoline effect. But what the ERC1 did, it was like 1 in 10. So you'd hit like 9 pretty normal drives, and there was one like specific millimeter of the face where you just go, oh my days, and it would go 30, 40 yards further through the air. And I'm not even kidding.
That's so funny.
It was wild. But the ERC2, so governing bodies just sort of like ignored that because you couldn't really quantify you couldn't get it enough to get the measurement, I think. So you just sort of let go, and then you just play with this lad who had an ERC driver and be like, cool, I'm 10 yards past, and then you just knock it on a par 5 off the tee or something. You're like, what on earth has happened here? But the ERC2, they used a new titanium alloy that could be made thinner over a larger area. So there was more area, you could get this flexion on the ERC2. So wherever you hit this thing, it was just like an absolute cannon going off, and the noise was just outrageous. But yeah,
this is so cool.
So basically, the USGA deemed it non-conforming immediately. Our friends at the USGA,
our new friends at the USGA,
where they just sort of looked at it and did their, it doesn't look like a golf, goes mile. No, we're not having it.
Immediately upon receiving it from Callaway before it had been launched,
I believe so. But the R&A, however, didn't, causing a bit of a split at that point. So. So there's a lot of players playing in Europe and the UK that were just using this cannon for a little while, but pretty quickly they both got on the same board. In 2003, they both brought in the COR rule, limiting COR to 0.83, and rumor has it that basically the highest COR rating you can have is 1.0 if you get perfect elasticity and 100% of the energy is transferred. Rumor has it the ERC2 was pushing the high 0.99.
No way. It was like almost as efficient as physics will let. Yeah. It was just a remarkable club. And what we see today, all the stories we have, like Rory this year, about having to switch driver because it failed a test. They've changed the test now from COR to CT test, which is basically the same thing. It's characteristic time. It's how long it spends on the face, essentially. All these stories we hear, his drivers fail, driver creeping, this is the quickest it can be. All of the sculpting we see of the stories that coming out in launch season, these manufacturers having to scrabble for other ideas around, we can't make the face any quicker, so what are we going to do? All right, forgiveness, spin control, aerodynamics, like that. All of the stuff that these companies are having to do now is because of that ludicrous drive. And I'm going to get older one, I think, and try and get one in lefty for you, because that would be so much
I'd love
fun
to put it up against one of yours now. I remember being on parts of the golf course. I never had one, But the old pro at our club for a while, a guy called Martin Payne, he had one. And I remember him lending it me for 9 holes when he was in the shop. So go on, just let me take it out for 9. But yeah, I saw parts of that golf course off the tee I'd never, at Clibberry Mortimer Golf Club, I had never seen before. I'm flicking in wedges into par 5s at like 15 years old, thinking, oh my
I've got
days.
this image of it being sort of like strapped up in the pro shop, like behind a cage, and like pushed against the wall because it's so, strapped against the wall because it's so volatile. It's trying to bite you. What a fascinating story.
It was so cool. And do you remember our friend of the pod, Nick Doherty, and probably more famously, Sky Sports broadcaster Nick Doherty? He's probably not introduced like that.
Once went on kick point, Nick Doherty.
There was a point where he kind of circumnavigated the rules a little bit, and a lot of guys were doing this where they didn't. I thought it was because they limited the test to like under 12 degrees. That was the COR thing, but it was applicable for all clubs. But because the face area of a 3-wood was smaller, it was very difficult to get to the level of COR that was banned, but it still was applicable technology versus the standard 3-wood. So you'd get such a colossal boost. So he was using an ERC 2 3-wood for quite some time. I think he won the Dunhill Links with one, I think, from memory. Why do I know that? And it was just, again, a cannon. You could get these 3-woods back in the day with less, not as high-end golf balls. And it doesn't sound much now, but you'd like flying 290 yards off the deck for like a relatively moderate swing speed on tour. It was just baffling and sculpted an entire equipment industry.
And without that, we wouldn't be here now. You put it so well.
We probably would, but like...
No, as in, but yeah, somebody else would have taken it there. There was something that had to do it. And it was that. I think that is a brilliant reason for crowning it the most important club of the 21st century, Joe. Great work.
Thank you. That was very tiring, very long. I really hope you've stayed with us till the end.
I do, because I really enjoy putting that together. And I want to hear what other people think as well, because there's going to be some disagreements in there. That's why we do it.
Do you think next time we just go with 10 and don't worry about the first 58 that we did? That was bold, wasn't it?
Fun fact about ERC. Do you know why it's ERC?
Do you need the smart water?
No, I've got it already.
Okay.
Eli Callaway's initials, ERC. Don't know what his middle name was.
Roger.
Robin.
Who knows?
Really good. Yeah, thanks for sticking along. If you did. If you didn't, well, you're not here, so that's fine. But we want to hear disagreements. This is designed to sort of stir conversation. Let us know clubs that you revered from the last 25 years, and we'll revisit some suggestions in the new year.
You're going to have to make it a very compelling argument to beat our list
because it's definitive.
Thought into that, and it's fact, isn't it? So it's going to be very difficult to argue with that.
It is
but
fact.
Please try.
Any more? You've got one more fact for us before we go off for Christmas, Joe?
Hang on, let me just... Yeah, a jiffy is an actual measurement of time. You know when people say...
How long is a jiffy?
I'll be back in a jiffy.
Yeah.
Well, in physics, a jiffy is the time it takes for a light to travel 1 centimetre in a vacuum. So it's approximately... Hang on. 33.35 picoseconds.
Picoseconds?
Yeah.
I'll be back in
a jiffy. So when you're back in a jiffy, you're quick, mate.
You do mean quick.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be back in a jiffy, Joe, won't we, to film next week's episode.
Well, I need a break.
And we will be here on Boxing Day. Kick point doesn't stop, does it, Joe?
It's the pointies.
It's the pointies this time next week. So no tour issue on Monday, but we will be here on Boxing Day for some post-Christmas fun if you want to get away from your family or your friends.
I've got an article going up on Golf Monthly about that. 4 best excuses to get away from your in-laws this Christmas.
I've read this. It's very convincing.
Thank you.
So yes, if you're looking for something to do over the Christmas period, we will have another silly episode of the pointies coming for you on Boxing Day. No tour issues on Monday, obviously not. That's crazy. Sorry, of course, the very serious awards, the pointies. But until then, have a great Christmas, Joe.
Thank you. There's a pointy.
Have a good Christmas, Joe.
Thank you. You too. Yeah. I hope all your Christmas wishes come true. I hope TaylorMade make an RBZ.
They've got a week.
Mini driver for you. It's a tough turnaround, I grant you, but I could probably knock something up with this can of paint, maybe something like that. I hope you continue to work on your setup. I hope that bears fruit in the new year, and I hope you have a lovely Christmas dinner. In regards to Mr. and Mrs. Parker.
Likewise. Until then, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for putting it with us. We'll see you next week.